Oda finally confirmed that Shanks and the Roger pirates knew about Ace, and that Shanks even believed Ace had the potential to become the Pirate King. But this revelation immediately raises new questions as well. If that's true, then why didn't Shanks give the Gomu Gomu no Mi to his so-called little brother? And why didn't any of the Roger pirates help Ace at Marineford? Rayleigh was casually watching the broadcast from Sabaody. Shanks only arrived after Ace's death, and Skopper Gaban was probably at Elbaf chilling with a giant fine shit. I believe I have the answer to why Shanks chose Luffy instead, and to understand that, we have to go all the way back to the very first chapter of One Piece. The story begins with Oda clearly showing us that everything Luffy knows about piracy was taught to him by Shanks. Shanks showed Luffy what it truly means to be a pirate, and he even pushed him toward that path by constantly calling him weak and just a kid. After the Higuma incident, Shanks disappears to the sea for several months. Then, surprisingly, he returns at the exact same time that Higuma appears again in the story, just in time to give Luffy one final lesson about piracy. This lesson ends up being the single most important moment in Luffy's entire life. It's strange that Shanks would be gone for so long, only for both him and Higuma to return at the exact same moment. That timing feels far too perfect to be a coincidence, but we'll come back to that later. It's also strange that a devil fruit so valuable to the world government, so important that a top-tier CP agent was imprisoned for life after losing it, was taken by Shanks to a small, peaceful village where a child with the will of D just so happened to live. And even stranger, the fruit was left out in the open, in a place where Luffy could easily eat it. At the beginning of the story, this feels like simple plot convenience. But now that we know that Shanks is a schemer and we understand his position in the world, it becomes very hard to believe this was an accident. Shanks knew exactly how important the fruit was, and he knew the world government would want it back at any cost. We usually see the loss of Shanks' arm as his famous bet on the future, but that bet wasn't just about the arm, it was everything. Giving Luffy the fruit, giving him the straw hat, and even sacrificing his own arm to permanently burn that lesson into Luffy's soul. For me, the idea of a bet implies a huge risk. It sounds like Shanks wasn't fully sure what he was doing, but he trusted his instincts and risked everything anyway. It wasn't as if Shanks knew from the very beginning that Luffy was Joy Boy. He simply believed in the future, in Luffy's dream that was the same as Roger's, and in the choice he made. In 2009, in an SBS, a fan asked Oda which character was the most similar to himself. Oda answered that it was Shanks. This answer always felt strange to me, but I think I finally understood why, and I'll reveal that answer soon. For now, let's continue with Shanks' journey. Look at Marineford. When Shanks arrives, his very first words are about the flow of time itself. He specifically mentions how Kobe bought a few precious seconds that allowed Luffy to escape and survive. By that point, Whitebeard and Ace were already dead. Shanks' only real goal at Marineford was to save Luffy and make absolutely sure that he lived to see the future. Shanks has never directly controlled Luffy, but every single time we see him, he gently nudges Luffy in a very specific direction. He never gives direct orders, never forces anything. He simply places Luffy in situations where the choice feels natural. Because of Shanks, Luffy has the straw hat, the devil fruit, and the will to become a great pirate. These are not random things. These are all things the world government deeply fears or desperately cares about. At Wano, judging by Shanks' reaction, it was more or less confirmed that he had been waiting for Luffy to awaken his devil fruit. Even Mihawk crossed the seas just to inform Shanks about Luffy getting his very first bounty. And by the reaction of the red-haired pirates, we could clearly see that something extremely important had happened. It wasn't like, oh yeah, that kid from 11 years ago finally became a pirate. No, they had been waiting for that exact moment. They know the true power of the Gomu Gomu no Mi, and everything Shanks did up to that point was intentional. After the new chapter revealed that Shanks knew about Ace, the theory that Shanks was originally looking for Ace becomes even more believable. 14 years ago, Skopper Gaban told Shanks about Ace. 13 years ago, Shanks was spotted in the South Blue. The only time Shanks had ever left the Grand Line before that was when he was gathering his crew, carefully choosing his strongest commanders from different parts of the world. He met Ben Beckman in the North Blue, met Yasopp in the East Blue, and recruited Lucky Roo from the South Blue. After that, Shanks returned to the Grand Line, became a Yonko, and then went to Elbaf to meet Skopper Gaban. 1 year later, he surprisingly left the Grand Line again, this time carrying the Gomu Gomu no Mi. At this point, it's basically confirmed that Shanks was looking for Roger's son. But that raises the most important question of all. If he was looking for Ace, then why did he choose Luffy instead? I'm almost certain that Luffy was not born as Joy Boy. Yes, destiny and inherited will are huge themes in One Piece, but we're talking about Oda, arguably one of the greatest storytellers of our time. He wouldn't create a main character who was guaranteed to succeed from the very beginning. Yes, Luffy has plot armor, a strong family lineage, and many attributes that main characters usually have, but being Joy Boy is different. That role is an exception, and I'll explain why. Luffy was not Joy Boy from the start, and we can even see this in the very first chapter. After eating the devil fruit, the villagers noted that Luffy became happier than before. That wasn't just his personality, that was the effect of the devil fruit itself. And yes, it's a popular theory that Zoan fruits choose their owners and that the Gomu Gomu no Mi chose Luffy. But do you really believe that a cunning character like Shanks, someone who joined the Holy Knights and then attacked a marine ship just to obtain this legendary fruit, would simply leave it lying around in a bar near Luffy? He didn't hide it in a secret place on his ship. He didn't order any of his crewmates to guard it. He didn't even keep it with himself. Instead, he casually placed it near a kid who was eating food at that exact moment. That 100% was intentional. Shanks chose Luffy as the owner of the Gomu Gomu no Mi after hearing the exact same words and the exact same dream that Roger once had. In chapter 1060, when Luffy reveals his dream to his crew, he says that only 3 people know about it: Ace, Sabo, and Shanks. We see a flashback panel of 3 brothers, but not Shanks's. Shanks even tells Rayleigh that Luffy said the exact same words as their former captain. Both Luffy and Roger share a hidden mutual dream, a dream that creates different reactions in people but ultimately draws them in. That was the moment Shanks truly chose Luffy. He chose Luffy's dream and trusted that Luffy could one day become Joy Boy. That was the real bet, not just his arm. He literally bet everything on his instincts and on Luffy, a legendary devil fruit, his captain's straw hat, and his own arm. Any D, or maybe even anyone at all, can become Joy Boy. By giving Luffy the hat and the fruit, Shanks set him on a path toward absolute freedom, toward fighting the strongest people in the world, toward pushing himself beyond his limits for the sake of others. For years, Shanks was drawn as just a good guy who loves being a pirate, but over time it became clear that he has always had deeper motives. And in the end, it seems he made the right choice. Luffy's goal is to become the Pirate King, while Ace's final words during his fight with Blackbeard revealed that his dream was to make Whitebeard the king instead. At the beginning, I mentioned an SBS question from 2009. Why does Oda think that Shanks resembles him the most? At first, this answer felt strange to me because Shanks doesn't seem to have any obvious personality traits that would make Oda choose him. Every trait you could name, drinking, being laid back, carefree behavior, or even charm, I could easily name another character who has more of that. And of course, Oda didn't choose Shanks because of his strong haki or his cool presence either. The true reason is much deeper. Shanks, in the world of One Piece, is exactly who Oda is in real life. In One Piece, Shanks chose a kid and inspired him. In the end, that kid will change the world for the better. In the real world, Oda is doing the exact same thing. No matter how cringe this might sound to some people, Oda inspires millions and genuinely changes lives. For example, one of the most popular streamers in the world, Speed, who originally became famous because of his love for Ronaldo, still chose One Piece over Ronaldo and openly said that this anime saved his life. Today, many people even compare Speed to Luffy himself. And of course, Speed is just one example. One Piece has inspired countless people in a way no other anime, manga, or even movie franchise has ever managed to do. Shanks doesn't just resemble Oda. I believe that through this character, among many other things, Oda is trying to show us that inspiring others or helping people achieve their dreams can be just as important as chasing your own, especially when you genuinely believe in their goals. Oda has never confirmed nor denied this interpretation, but this lesson can very easily be taken from Shanks as a character. I believe this could also be the reason why Shanks cried after talking with Roger when Roger returned from Laugh Tale. I think Roger asked Shanks to carry on his will, not by becoming the Pirate King himself, but by identifying the person who would surpass him and eventually become Joy Boy. That emotional reaction may have been the result of Roger telling Shanks that they arrived too early and that someone else in the future would be the one to find the true meaning of the One Piece. I believe Shanks was deeply saddened by the fact that his captain was unable to fully carry out the ultimate purpose behind the One Piece. This also explains why Buggy was upset with Shanks when Shanks suddenly decided that he had no intention of becoming the king of the next generation. Instead, this is the exact moment where Shanks begins to carry out Roger's will in a different way, by searching for, guiding, and protecting the next Joy Boy in order to seal fate itself. This brings us to present-day Shanks. I believe he is actively protecting the One Piece until the moment Luffy arrives at Laugh Tale to finally claim it. I argue that this is the point in the story where Shanks realizes that Luffy's claim to the One Piece is no longer a distant dream, but something that is truly imminent. Interestingly, Shanks wields a weapon classified as a saber named Griffin. A griffin is a mythological creature characterized by the head and wings of an eagle and the body, tail, and back legs of a lion. There are many striking similarities between Shanks and Griffin's symbolism itself. This includes his celestial dragon blood through the Figurland family, representing nobility, and his influence powerful enough to sway even the Navy and the Gorosei, representing authority and power. Griffins are also known in mythology as guardians of treasures and sacred valuables. True to their symbolism, griffins represent protection, vigilance, and watchfulness. Similarly, Shanks possesses incredible foresight and clarity of vision, allowing him to act swiftly and decisively at critical moments. According to Greek mythology, griffins lived at the very edge of the world, where they guarded hoards of gold. I believe the same can be said for Shanks. Especially after the reveal of Shamrock's Cerberus sword, I believe this idea now has an even higher chance of being true. Shanks knows far more than we usually think. It's not just knowledge about Emu, the Abyss Mark, or the Gomu Gomu no Mi. It's also very possible that he already knows the exact location of the One Piece treasure itself, considering the fact that he was on Roger's ship when the crew was deciphering the coordinates after finding all 4 road poneglyphs. Shanks also possesses knowledge of the prophecy that connects Joy Boy and the 2 sovereigns. We know that Shanks was present when Roger and Odin first discovered the existence of Joy Boy at Fishman Island. That moment alone would have shaped his entire understanding of the future. This might explain why Shanks appears to be so strongly opposed to Blackbeard. Teach is simply not Joy Boy. Shanks bet everything on someone who is the complete opposite of a man like Blackbeard. As Whitebeard stated in his final speech, Teach is not the man Roger is waiting for. This also explains why Shanks is constantly keeping tabs on Blackbeard. And as it was foreshadowed at Marineford, I believe Shanks both intends and is fully prepared for an eventual battle with Teach. However, fighting Blackbeard is extremely dangerous because he appears to be protected by fate itself, but that's a topic for another video. Speaking of Marineford and mysterious details, we know that Shanks somehow stopped Kaido from going to Marineford. That alone is incredibly suspicious. What could possibly stop Kaido's overwhelming desire for war? I don't believe they fought. There's simply no way Shanks could defeat Kaido without even receiving a scratch, and we know that Shanks arrived at Marineford completely unharmed. Instead, I believe Shanks promised Kaido something he could not refuse. I think Shanks promised him the greatest fight of his life in the future. This is speculation, but what if he told Kaido that if he allowed Shanks to end the Battle of Marineford, Shanks would guide the growth of a Joy Boy candidate? In the end, Kaido would get exactly what he wanted. A true one-on-one fight against Joy Boy himself. Shanks knew that Luffy wasn't ready for Marineford. He also knew that witnessing that tragedy would force Luffy to grow stronger. Luffy is a D. His spirit would never truly break. Instead, he would come to a realization. To be free, he must become the strongest. And to become the strongest, Luffy must defeat the Yonko. By saving Luffy at Marineford, Shanks placed him on a direct collision course with the strongest pirates in the world. Maybe that's also why Kaido later said that Luffy could not become Joy Boy either. Now, here comes the darker part of this video. It almost feels like Shanks and the Roger Pirates gave up on Ace, as if his death was somehow necessary for Luffy's growth, and that they knew it on some level. Of course, this is a reach, but I genuinely don't know how else to explain the fact that none of the Roger Pirates were present at Marineford. Okay, maybe Shanks was actually late, but what about Crocus? What about Scopper Gaban? Rayleigh was calmly watching a live broadcast of Ace's execution. Everything about this situation feels deeply unsettling. Is it possible that they were prepared for Ace's death because it would ultimately make Joy Boy stronger? That idea is incredibly sad and insane, but without it, nothing else seems to fully make sense to me. If you have a different interpretation, write it down in the comments. I genuinely love to hear your thoughts. I decided to make 2 separate videos for this chapter, so don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming video about Loki and his legendary devil fruit in a few days. And before that, if you want to learn more about Joy Boy and the ancient secrets of the world, you can click this video right here. Thanks for watching. Bye.